Woody Wommack and Rivals.com here, signing day central in Los Angeles, and we are joined by a very special guest, Notre Dame head coach Brian Kelly. Coach, you weren't waiting for any letters today. You were just sitting back and relaxing. How nice was it to know that the hay was in the barn and you had all the letters in hand while some other coaches were out there waiting?
Yeah, it is nice. I mean, this is the second year now that we've signed everybody at the quote-unquote early signing period, which has now become the signing period for us. It's nice because it allowed me in the previous 2 weeks prior to the obviously the dead period to evaluate for the first time in my 10 years here at Notre Dame over the last couple of years. Allows me to get out to see the 20s and the 21s, and we haven't had that luxury because look, you got our class in front of you probably. We've got 16 states, 18 kids, and so generally when it's in the February signing period, Woody, I've had to essentially, for the lack of a better word, babysit, if you will, during that period of time where no longer do I have to do that. I can get out front to the next year's class and, begin the evaluation and, the relationship building, through either a bump or text messaging on that next group, and it's obviously starting to pay dividends.
You mentioned having more time to be out on the road, kind of like a throwback to your assistant coach days. What was it like getting a chance to get out and see kids in person in January, something that you might usually have to wait until May or June when you have guys on campus for camps?
Yeah, it's allowed for me to have a better sense of the recruiting. You feel a little bit more detached when you don't have this early signing period. At least it has been for me, that I can direct it more. I can be more actively involved in positionally recruiting, and don't feel like I'm not as, I guess, on top of every single recruit and know each one and establish and start to build relationships with each one of them. It's hard to do that when you're not out in front of it, and so this has been really good for us here at Notre Dame.
One of the top players in your class is a guy from my region, tight end Michael Mayer, was really knocking on the door for five-star status, and he was a guy that moved up every round of rankings for us. You guys got on him very early and got him committed very early. What was it like seeing him grow and develop as the process has gone along, and know that you have one of the most special talents at any position coming in Mayer?
Yeah, I think one of the things that has really kind of impressed us is his, as you've mentioned, Woody, his steady improvement as a football player. Sometimes that rawness needs to be defined and honed when you get on campus in the college environment. But it seems as though he's been able to improve his football skill and his football ability as he's played and been involved in more camps. And the more times he's exposed himself into high quality competition, he's really risen to that challenge. So we love his competitiveness. We love his makeup in terms of his character and the kind of person he is. He just seemed to fit who we are and what we're looking for in terms of a guy that wants to compete in the classroom and on the football field from the very beginning. So just really pleased with his the way he's obviously taken it upon himself to go out and challenge himself amongst the best players in the country too.
We know he's a special talent on offense. Any chance the defensive coaches are going to fight to get him lined up to rush the passer a little bit, especially with how well he played on defense this year?
Yeah, well, him and obviously, Kevin Bauman has that ability as well, another tight end that, sometimes, you have to be able to evaluate what you have. And, I'm not afraid to move guys around. If we feel like there's a tight end that can play defensive end or do both, we're not adverse to doing it. But, yeah, certainly, when you see a guy with that kind of ability, you start to think about what great things he can do for your football program. But we'll hold the defensive coaches at bay right now.
Notre Dame has really had a pipeline to Hawaii over the past 10 years or so, and this year's no different, bringing in Jordan Botello, the linebacker, from St. Louis High School in Hawaii. Tell us, Coach, about just the national brand of Notre Dame and what it means to the prospects in Hawaii and how you guys have been able to tap into that to continue adding talent.
Yeah, so, we've done really well there, over the last few years. Alohi Gilman, obviously, just graduating from our program, certainly, helps us in continuing that pipeline of bringing players in from Hawaii. It started obviously with Manti Te'o, and has continued to build for us. The St. Louis school is a profile school, Catholic school that is going to prepare their kids in a manner that the transition is not going to be very difficult here. And Jordan, exceptional student and certainly a player that really caught our attention in terms of the way he plays the game. He's sudden, physical, and Brian Poling's done a very, very good job of building strong relationships out on the island as well. So all those things coming together for us is an area that we'll continue to recruit because it's been really good, and it's been a good situation for us because those kids have done well here at Notre Dame.
Coach, your quarterback was your first commit, Drew Pine. It seems like he's been committed for years. He's been the leader of the class. How important was it to have him out there recruiting for you and kind of being like an extra assistant coach? And what is it about Drew that you guys like so much?
Yeah, I think, and Woody, you know this better than anybody, I think these classes start recruiting for themselves, right? I mean, once you're able to, and I think our 2020 class is probably indicative of that as well in terms of there's a guy in that class or two that kind of sets it in motion, and others begin to fall in line based upon the personalities that are in that class. And Drew was that guy in this class, and he certainly was somebody that other people wanted to follow. And then when others jumped in, he solidified it. And but he's had to do that. Look, he's, as you remember, this is the young man that was offered a scholarship when he was in 8th grade by Lane Kiffin. So, he's had these high expectations on his shoulder, since he's been young, and he embraces it. And he loves the fact that, he's always told that he's maybe an inch too short, and maybe he's not quite the player that others think he is. And he loves that, and he embraces it, and he loves to compete. That's why we think he's a great fit here at Notre Dame.
All right, Coach, thanks a lot for joining us. Make sure to stay locked into Rivals.com as we have continuous coverage of National Signing Day.